Oh, hi everyone. Sorry, medyo naputol kanina. The first broadcast, there was an error. So medyo naputol po kanina. Thank you very much for your patience. Alam ko po yung iba nag-aabang na nitong broadcast na ito. We are a bit behind. Katatapos ko lang ng training sa sa Level Up Wealth Group. So magandang gabi. This is Dr. Iris nga po pala sa mga hindi nakakakilala. I'm also one of the co-founders ng Low Carb Con. So you may be watching this from a few different platforms. Maaring pinapanood ninyo ito sa Low Carb Con, sa Global TV, sa Filipino-Canadian organization, sa Level Up with Dr. Iris, yung sarili kong platform, or in my own group, or sa YouTube po. So whatever platform you're coming in from, I am greeting you a good morning from Canada. So Vancouver time umaga, sa inyo po gabi kung nasa Philippines kayo, hapon kung nasa Europe. Pag-uusapan natin today is all about mga pagkain dapat nating iwasan para hindi tayo tumaba. And the tumaba part, again, sa mga bagong-bago lang sa channel natin, some people are wondering, some people have commented na ito ay parang body shaming, but this is very far from the truth. Itong dahil po bilang isang medical professional, kami po we are the ones dealing with the repercussions ng pagtaba. So pagtaba is not just a state of physical appearance na yung iba, they take this as a way na body shaming daw, ganyan. No, that's not the goal. The goal of this advocacy, if you have been following us for a while, in this platform, kami, lahat ng mga co-advocates ko, so nandyan si Dr. Grace, of course, sila Dr. Fee, Dr. Mike, Dr. Brian of EBS Wellness, lahat ng mga advocates natin, influencers, never ang pinaka-rason kung bakit ginagawa namin ito is to body shame. This is to give awareness of the fact that there are so many medical conditions right now that we see in society na lifestyle related na nakakabit sa pagtaba. So that is why we are giving awareness dito po. Bakit ganyan yung title? It's really to help people become aware na ang root cause is yung deeper physiologic process, which is insulin resistance, that usually goes with pagtaba ng tao. Kasi when you put on that weight, when you pile on the abdominal fat, when you pile on those extra pounds, what's happening here is it's not merely a physical manifestation po, yung nangyayari sa loob ng katawan natin and all the myriad of events that happen with that. So ano-ano nga ba yung mga yon? So these are things like diabetes. So insulin resistance is the umbrella. Siya yung pinaka root cause. But what are the things that are consequences ng pagkakaroon ng insulin resistance? So these are things like diabetes, high blood pressure, high cholesterol, fatty liver, sa mga babae, PCOS, mataas na mga uric acid, sometimes kidney issues that happen from after effect ng pagkakaroon ng mga high blood pressure and all these other things na magkakasama usually, right? And then down the road, we see things like memory decline, Alzheimer's dementia, right? Yung mga cancer, which we now know is a metabolic disease. In some cases, yes, there is genetic predisposition, but it is largely a metabolic disease. Ibig sabihin, nangyayari dahil sa metabolism, napakaraming excess fuel. And so ano mangyayari sa excess fuel? Napakaraming glucose, usually from high-carb meals. And what happens is it feeds the cancer cells, right? And so, kaya kami seryoso about this. It is not about body shaming. It is about, because we are the frontliners dealing with the after effects of lifestyle-related medical conditions. And this is why we are so very passionate to talk about this. Kasi alam namin, hindi enough ang band-aid technique. Kung ang pinagmumula ng sugat, hindi mo i-address, kahit 1,000,000, 1,000,000 band-aid ang itapal mo dyan, it will not stop. So you have to realize why we are doing this, okay? It's not about body shaming po. It's about the reality of physiology, the reality of science, the reality of the hormonal basis of diseases. Okay? So, pag-uusapan natin ngayong gabi, what are the things? And sa mga bagong-bago lang sa ating channel, I want to show you yung sequence of events po, that we always talk about. So you know that there is a master hormone regulator, although it is implicated in most of the cases nitong insulin resistance. But later I will also talk about how it can be indirectly implicated rin. But for the most part, we know that glucose, ito yung energy unit po, energy unit, ang nagdidikta kung papasok yung glucose para gamitin ng ating mga cells ay ang hormone na insulin. So anything that, any glucose molecule that comes into our body, insulin needs to be there para sabihin sa cell na kunin mo siya, gamitin mo yung energy fuel na yan. Of course, if there is metabolic na imbalance, hindi gagana si insulin na maayos. Now, there are 3 macronutrients that stimulate insulin production. Yan yung tinatawag nating, proteins, carbohydrates, and fat. So proteins, iba't ibang uri ng mga macronutrients yan. Proteins are essential, kailangan siya ng katawan. Yung fat are essential, kailangan siya ng katawan. Carbohydrates are not essential. Ano nga ba yung mga carbohydrates? Pag-uusapan natin mamaya as we progress with this talk. But essentially, what's happening here is bawat isang macronutrient will stimulate insulin in different ways. And yung mga pagkain pag-uusapan natin ngayon na kailangan natin silang iwasan dahil kailangan nating maintindihan itong chart na yan. So, ayan yung 3 macronutrients ninyo. Ayan yung carbohydrates sa taas, nakalagay insulin response to carbohydrate. Tingnan ninyo kung gaano kataas yan. Compared sa protein and fat, the second and third layers, tingnan nyo na mababa lang siya. And so it follows that if mababa yung stimulation ng insulin, then mababa rin yung possibility of fat production. Kasi yan ang trabaho ng hormone na yan. It's an anabolic hormone. So ang trabaho niya, every time you stimulate it, you will stimulate fat production. So yung mga macronutrients natin, like fat and protein, na hindi masyado nasa-stimulate yun, obviously will not stimulate insulin, will not stimulate fat storage so much. Kaya nga, ang pinopromote po natin, kung napanood ninyo yung video before this, mga pagkain dapat kainin para pumayat, yun yung mga proteins and fat natin. And of course, yung mga low net carb type of food. Ngayon, ang pag-uusapan natin, ano yung mga dapat talagang iwasan? Ano yung mga nakakataba? So, obviously, kung alam natin na carbs yung nakaka-stimulate niyan, edi ang laman ng ating stop list, right? Parang traffic light yan. Green, you can eat freely, go freely. Yellow, so medyo caution tayo dyan kasi in moderation lang dahil pag nasobrahan, magiging problema rin. And then finally, we have the stop. So ngayon, ang pag-uusapan natin is yung mga bagay-bagay na nasa stop list. So unang-una, do not eat and drink. Tingnan natin bakit, right? Pizza, let's have a look. Pizza will have per slice. So ito, let's say, assume natin na ito ay large pizza, Philippine size. Hindi yung size na hindi yung size na yung mga giant pizzas, but just a regular Philippine pizza. Isang slice niyan will give you 27 grams of net carbs. Net carbs, yun yung tinitignan nating amount, yun yung minimit nating requirement per day para malaman natin na tayo ay hindi mag-rely sa sugar as our main fuel. Meron tayong minimit na amount in our communities. We are promoting this. Ipa-flash ko lang ulit sa mga bagong-bago at hindi pa nakikita ito. 3 levels ng paglo-low carb. Ang sinusunod natin dahil tayo mga Pilipino at mababa ang ating maliliit, yung ating frame, ang sinusunod natin is the middle portion. Let me find that here. Sandali lang, hinahanap ko sa aking slide. Mukhang nawala. So anyway, ang minimit natin is the 50 grams or less na net carb po. 50 grams or less net carb. Ito. Ang gusto natin is the moderate. So you know that there's also ketogenic, right? 3 uri yan. Ketogenic, moderate, liberal. Pinapromote natin sa ating mga communities yung 20 to 50 grams per day. Sa literature, ang moderate will be considered around 130 or so. Moderate pa rin yan. Pero hindi tayo kasing laki ng mga puti. So as Filipinos with smaller frames, susundan natin is the 20 to 50 grams per day. Ngayon, babalikan natin. So, net carb po yun, yun yung content ng carb. So, net carb, paano kino-compute? Total carbs minus fiber, kasi si fiber hindi na-absorb, idudumi lang. That'll give you the net carb. So, again, total carb minus fiber equals net carb. So, tingnan natin dito sa ating stop list. Tingnan natin yung mga net carb ng mga common food natin. So, we have pizza, 27 grams. So, kung ang inyong limit is 50, right, per day, yung isang slice mo ng pizza na yan, na Filipino size regular, will already put you more than half of your requirement. E paano kung ang kinain mo white rice, isang cup, white rice? So that's gonna be 50 grams. So yun na yun, rice pa lang, ubos na yung quota mo ng requirement mo for the day, 50 grams. Pag kumain ka pa ng tinapay, whole wheat, mas mataas, depende sa amount. For example, one slice of this, isang slice niyan. Usually yung mga bread na binibenta, yung mga pre-made bread, anywhere from 17 to 20 grams yan or even higher sa iba. So imagine, kumain ka lang ng dalawa, gagawa ka ng sandwich, right? Paano ba ginagawa ang sandwich? Magkataob yung bread. Gagawa ka ng sandwich, 2 piraso na let's say 20 grams each. 40 grams na yun ang net carb mo. Anong allowance mo per day? 50. Yung palang na kinain mo na yun, sandwich na hindi ka pa nga nabusog doon, ganun na kaagad kalaki. Kaya no wonder, people can easily go up to nasa 200, 300 net carbs sila per day. 300 grams net carbs per day. Yan yung usual diet pag ikaw ay ma-rice. So imagine, kung kunyari, only rice ka, so the only rice will give you, let's say, 3 cup sa isang kainan, or let's say for the whole day, 2 cup ka, 2 sa tanghali, 2 sa gabi. That's already 200 grams right there. Yung rice pa lang na yan. Nag-dessert ka pa, mahilig ka sa tinapay, ayan, 46 grams, depending on yung amount ng bread. Katulad kanina nung sinabi ko, yung sandwich, right? Yung 2 piraso na yun is already more than 40, depends sa brand. Pakibasa po yung nutrition label. So yun pa lang po yun. Tapos sinamahan mo pa ng dessert. Yan, kumain ka ng big, heavy rice meal. Tapos, pagkatapos nun, kumain ka rin ng konting tinapay, and then sinamahan mo pa ng dessert. And we can usually find this sa Filipino diet talaga, right? How many of us have been to parties kung saan ang handa ay, for example, merong ihaw nga dyan, tapos maraming rice, tapos meron pang spaghetti. Anong partner ng spaghetti? Tinapay. Diba? Tasty. Tasty bread. So imagine yung net carb nun. Pagpunta mo sa isang kainan pa lang sa party na yun, baka more than 200 grams net carb ka na. Imagine what that will do to your sugar, to your body po. Imagine what that will do. Tingnan natin tong chart na to. Sobrang spike ang gagawin yan ng insulin sa katawan mo. And no wonder you feel very bad. Pansinin niyo po, pag kayo nag-high carb meal, you feel so bad, after. Para kang bundat na para kang na-empacho, right? And then you feel so sluggish. It's all the sugar, flooding of sugar sa katawan natin. So, kailangan po nating malaman, and specifically sa atin po mga Pilipino, kasi these are the common things that we see in our diet, right? Itong mga bagay na to, pwede ba ako mabuhay without rice, without bread? Yeah, for sure you can. Marami pong substitutes dyan. Kailangan lang nating tignan po itong ating mga food guides. So yung food guide po natin, nandyan po yung mga substitute. Ayan, shirataki, mga low-carb bread. Pwede rin tingnan sa mga communities po natin yung mga recipes para dyan po sa mga substitute natin, dyan sa common natin na mga high-carb meals, high-carb side dishes na yan, na katulad nito, right? So, yan po, pakititigan lang maigi, screenshot ninyo. And if you want a copy of that, kung gusto po ninyo ng copy ng food guide natin, and ilalabas din natin ang kopya nito, you can just go dito. So yan po yung page ko. Titingnan nyo na lang po doon. May list dyan kung paano ninyo kukunin. Sa baba niyan will be yung ating food guide. Hanapin nyo na lang po doon. Doon din mahahanap pala yung abs challenge. Yung gustong mag-join ng abs challenge ko po, doon din mahahanap yan. Okay, and niyan, ang kanyang link is yung levelupwithdriris.com. So, check nyo lang po yan, okay? So, yan po. Now, let's go to the second part nito. Ano pa ba? So, nakita na po natin ito, malinaw na cookies, pizza, white rice, yan ang lahat ng mga net carb nila. And para next time, medyo aware na tayo. Ano pa pong mga pagkain ang dapat nating iwasan? Ayan. So, other things, mga favorites natin sa ating lipunan, chips. Depende sa chips, again, pakibasa po ang label. Depende sa chips, nakalagay kung ilang grams ng carb ang nandun per 100 grams. Nandyan din yung, syempre, yung favorite natin, ice cream. By the way, these things, you can always do low carb, ano po nito, no? Yung mga chips, mga ice cream na yan. Sa communities natin, napakaraming recipes to create yung mga, mga chips made from yung mga low carb ingredients po. So, just go to the communities and type low carb keto chips. Makikita ninyo doon ano yung mga iba't ibang workaround, mga iba't ibang substitute po niyan. Kasi yun nga, syempre hindi natin maiwasan, minsan talaga may cravings. And French fries, dahil patatas po yan, very starchy, tingnan niyo po ang kanyang net carb net carb content per 100 grams. Sino ba naman ang kakain ng 100 grams lang ng French fries? Parang ano lang yun, ilang piraso lang yun. Siguro mga 4 piraso ng French fry yun. Right? And so, if you eat like big amounts, like dito sa North America, grabe yung servings dito ng fries. If you order, for example, yung isang restaurant dito, Five Guys, if you order like small fries, napakalaki niya. So imagine ilan yun, it's probably times 5 nito. So it's already more than 100 grams of net carb doon lang sa one serving ng fries na yon. And then of course, andito yung ating favorite ng ating mga kabataan, candies. Look at that. It's just pure sugar. Kinulayan, purong sugar po. 70 grams. Imagine that. 70 grams. Yung mga dessert like this, 46 grams per slice. Chocolate, depende sa chocolate. Siyempre, meron din tayong mga keto chocolates. Yun yung mga almost like 90% cocoa. And wala talaga siyang nilalagay na sugar or mga sugar substitute niya is things like xylitol. So may mga keto chocolate po. I'm talking about the regular chocolate, Regular chocolate, look at that, 100 grams. Meron siyang 56 grams agad-agad. Halos hindi na nga hindi mo na mafe-feel yung chocolate niya, yung panay asukal na lang siya. Right? And the great news is meron talaga tayong mga substitutes. So pag nag-crave ka pa rin ng chocolate, you can buy like cacao nibs, pwede mong i-melt yan, or any chocolate na walang sugar, pwede naman nating i-melt, gawa tayo ng sarili natin, lalagyan natin ng mga approved sweeteners natin, and that can be the workaround. Okay? So maaari pa rin naman yan ma-enjoy in a low carb and healthy way. Yun po yung workaround dyan. But it's important to know, so the next time na kayo'y naengganyo mag-cheat, ano ba yung effect niya mga yan? How much will it affect your metabolism? Remember, pag tayo nag-cheat, it takes a few days sometimes to even get out of that insulin spike. Kung konti lang yung pag-cheat ninyo, at the end of 18 hours, pwedeng wash out na si insulin. Pero the longer-term repercussions of cheating, yun, nandun siya. So inflammation sa mga ugat natin, right? Inflammation markers, tataas. So it's not worth it. Marami tayong substitutes, marami tayong workarounds dyan. Punta sa mga communities natin. So, sariling community ko would be the Low Carb Fasting Holistic Wellness. Join sa lahat ng communities po. All the communities will offer you different resources. Ito yung sa aking personal one. And dito makikita nyo yung mga recipes kung meron kayong kinikrave na mga kakanin, meron kayong kinikrave na mga, indulgences, right? Pwede pong mahanap doon yung mga substitute dyan. Okay? So you just have to know how to choose the lesser evil, kumbaga. Kasi we have to admit, life is not perfect. Hindi naman all the time mag-low carb ka, 100%. Merong mga ganun. Believe ako sa kanila, that's great. Pero yung mga tao na, realistically speaking, talagang may encounter pa rin yung mga cravings, ito po yung ating next best thing na dapat gawin. And so now we move to sugars. Ito meron na tayong broadcast about sugars. Meron na po yan before tayong ginawa. And ililink natin yung previous broadcast na yan. where I talked about yung iba't ibang uri ng asukal, ano-ano yung kanyang mga equivalent. Pero ito po ay visual for you, just so you know, white sugar will give you the 4 grams. Yan ang pamantayan. Industry standard is teaspoon of white sugar is 4 grams ng net carb yan. Brown sugar, depende sa brand, can be a little bit higher. Ito, may nagtanong po nito sa audience, kahit po ba, Doc, yung muscovado, is it unhealthy? Opo. Kasi mataas po ang kanyang net carb, 14.2, mas mataas pa nga. The same thing with cocoa sugar, kahit pa sabihin natin, because, don't be confused, yung coconut is something that we advocate for sa ating lifestyle. Coconut is healthy, coconut oil, pero iba rin po yung cocoa sugar. Okay, cocoa sugar is still sugar. So, yan, meron siyang 4 grams. Now, the other ones na mga parang artificial sweeteners like sorbitol, mga ganyan po, itong mga corn sugar, these are their equivalent. So, corn sugar, tingnan ninyo. So, 33 per cup. So, medyo mataas. Kasi usually, you will use this for, flavorings or baking products. And then, icing sugar, ayan siya, per cup. Agave sugar, nandyan, maltose, honey. So, marami nagtatanong about honey. Kasi honey is a product of nature. Diba? Siya natural. So, pwede bang gamitin yung honey? Ngayon, depende na naman ito po sa stage ng journey ninyo. Strictly speaking, kung kayo ay talagang low-carb practitioner, we don't actually advocate for using honey. Ngayon, marami tayong pwedeng gamitin, right? So, ito yung 4. Stevia, monk fruit, yung xylitol, erythritol, yun yung 4. So, you can use those things to sweeten kung ano man ang kailangan ninyong patamisin. Kasi if you use the natural honey, mataas pa rin kasi talaga ang net carb niyan. Imagine, 17 grams per teaspoon. Mas mataas pa siya kaysa sa white sugar. Right? Corn syrup, lalo na. So, corn syrup, that's 33. Yan yung mga ginagamit. Lalo na yung mga high fructose corn syrup na yan, which is very deadly dahil, very, like it has very, very instant detrimental effects sa health natin. That should be really avoided. So again, ito isa pang product na natural, yung maple syrup. It's natural. So, pero ganun pa rin po. Ang isang, isang tablespoon, so 30 ml kasi 9 grams siya. So isang tablespoon yan would be 4.5. So meron pa rin talaga siyang sugar. Although it's natural, galing siya sa maple, but there's still that, right? There's still that insulin-stimulating effect. Remember, every time you stimulate insulin, you will store fat. So every time there is sugar, you will stimulate insulin. So kahit po ito yung mga natural man silang sources, right? You still have to understand that they are still sugar. So in that way, kung sugar sila, magsistimulate pa rin yung insulin, mas-stimulate pa rin ang fat production. Okay? Now, moving on, dito na tayo sa oils. Ito, another thing, napakaraming nagtatanong about this. So, oils. Pag-usapan po natin yan. Lahat ba ng oil, lalo na vegetable, lahat ba yan pwede? So, sa ating lifestyle, we are advocating for as natural as possible dahil alam natin na pag ang isang bagay ay dumaan sa napakaraming proseso, so for example, to extract the oil from that product, kailangan niya magdaan sa napakaraming proseso, napakaraming chemicals, then it makes that product actually pro-inflammatory. So yung produkto na yon ay imbis na healthy siya, dahil sa daming pinagdaanang proseso, mga chemical na dinagdag, siya ay nagiging artificial na. And in that way, it causes inflammation. So, although dito sa makikita niyong listahan na ito, ang mga oils na nandito ay gawa nga sila sa, natural na, they come from natural sources. And although zero yung kanilang net carb, right? It's zero. Pero, tanungin natin, ang sarili natin, paano ginawa yung mga yan? Ginawa sila through very high levels of extraction. So in that way, they are included in our stop na list natin, right? So we want you to avoid these oils dahil napakaraming prosesong pinagdaanan ng mga oil na yan to the point na halos wala na yung natural. They've been stripped of all the nutrients, tinanggal na, wala na yung mga healthy nila, plus all the chemicals that's been added. Kaya yung mga iba, kala nila safe yung sunflower oil daw sa flour, grapeseed, ayan. So these are not recommended sa community natin. Kasi itong mga uri ng oil na ito ay artificially extracted. Okay? Now compare this to the ones that are actually okay sa listahan natin. Like these ones. These usually can be obtained naturally nang walang pinagdadaanan masyadong proseso, as long as you look for the ones that are labeled na extra virgin. Ibig sabihin yung first press, right? Extra virgin. So extra virgin avocado oil, macadamia oil, olive oil, coconut oil, MCT oil. These are all okay sa ating lifestyle dahil hindi sila nagdaan sa maraming extraction processes, right? And in that way, less ang kanilang inflammation capacity. So less yung ability to invoke inflammation sa katawan natin. Kasi many times it's just not the net carbs po ang titignan din natin. Pero how close are they to the natural form? The closer they are, right? The closer they are to the natural whole food, the better it will be. Kasi wala siyang contaminants, wala siyang chemicals, wala siyang inflammation inducers, right? And so again, take note, anong oils ang ating gagamitin. These are the oils na gagamitin natin. And alin yung mga iiwasan natin? These are the oils na iiwasan natin. Akala natin ay healthy before, pero hindi po pala. Okay, so yan po ang oils. Now, moving on, yung ating mga sweeteners, marami po ang hindi nakakaalam. So, we have the approved sweeteners po. Yun yung ating, I will look for them, yung stevia, sandali. Sweeteners, I think wala ako nung But anyway, the 4 approved sweetener, ito. Sweeteners that are approved, yung 4, stevia, xylitol, erythritol, monk fruit. Ngayon, ano naman ang hindi approved? Dahil napaka din nila, mataas yung kanilang ability to induce cravings. Ito yung mga artificial. So aspartame, sucralose, acesulfame, saccharin. Now, wala po ako sa Philippines, so I don't know of the certain products. The best bet for you when you're looking at a specific product is to look at the ingredient. So kung ang ingredient ng product na ginagamit ninyo, meron itong mga ito, then it's not safe for our lifestyle. Kung ang ingredients ng product na meron kayo ay yan ang laman, then it is okay. Although there is no such thing as a completely safe sweetener, pero again, harm reduction, doon tayo sa hindi masyadong nag-i-induce ng cravings. Kasi we want to control the cravings. Cravings act on a higher level. Higher level, ibig sabihin, reward pathways ng brain natin ang inaatake ng mga ganyang pagkain na nag-i-induce ng sweet cravings. And pag yan na ang gumana, it's the same pathway that get affected in people who gamble, people na may mga addiction to whatever thing, right? Shopping addiction, video game addiction. It's the same process. And so food addiction is very real, right? And especially kung kayo emotional eater, di lalo pa. Dahil emotional eating is a way of coping with itong mga chemical imbalances, yung mga hormonal imbalances natin. And once it hits the reward pathway, yung dopamine, the pathway for anticipation and pleasure, kapag na-hit yun, minsan it will be beyond your control. Mahirap talaga siyang kontrolin. Wala nang willpower dyan. It's all chemicals working. So to be able to avoid that, let's stick to our approved sweeteners po. Okay, and then finally, just gonna show you yung mga common drinks na nakikita natin sa ating society. So beer, 13 grams per 12 ounces. Soda, depende again sa brand. I've seen brands na way more than 39. Sometimes yung mga yan, 50, 60, 70. Again, read the label po. And then you have soft drinks, of course, depende na naman sa brand. Even the fruit juices. So maraming nagkakaroon ng mga misconception about juice, right? Kasi iniisip nila, juice, galing naman sa nature yung prutas. But again, not all fruits are created equal. That's number 1. Bawat prutas, iba-iba ang net carb. May mga prutas na mababa ang net carb. Yun yung mga berries, di ba po? Yung pinag-usapan natin the other day, let me find them. Yan, mga berries, ganyan, other, fruits, katulad ng avocado, olives, but mainly these are the things that are lower net carb fruits. But the other thing to consider, hindi lang yung net carb. Ikalawa, what does the grinding process do to the food and availability ng sugar? It makes it more available. Pag grind mo na kasi yung prutas, ano nangyayari? Nare-release na, wala na yung mga pulp, right? Wala nang fiber na part. I mean, nare-release na siya doon sa fiber. When you drink that, it creates that huge spike. So, kung papipiliin ka ng lesser evil, gagawin mo ba siyang juice o kakainin mo ba siya? Mas maganda sigurong kainin mo na lang siya. Pero at the same time, consider ko anong klaseng fruit yan. Kasi kung higher net carb pa rin yan, ganun pa rin. So, choose the low net carb fruit. And this is why itong mga misconceptions about, nagju-juicing naman po ako, Doc. Healthy ang diet ko. I juice. Anong ginu-juice mo? Hindi naman greens. Panay, high net carb. Nagju-juice siya ng mango, tapos sinasamahan pa niya ng oranges, so mango, oranges, ganun yung ginu-juice niya. E di ang taas ng net carb nun. Banana, right? Banana, mango smoothie, parehas high net carb na prutas. So anong magiging effect? Huge insulin spike. So misconception about juices, hopefully po ay na ano natin yan today. And tea, oo nga, nagti-tea ka. Tsaa, pero nalagyan mo naman ng maraming asukal. Same thing with the coffee, right? Sa lifestyle natin, pasok yung coffee. Pero yung black, plain, kung depende sa stage ng journey mo, pwede mo lagyan ng MCT oil. Pero kung nagsisimula ka pa lang, plain is the best way to have your coffee. Tea, ganun din, plain. And then, ito, napakalaking, lalo na po sa mga lalaki, energy drinks. Yung energy drinks na yan, in reality, yung 28 grams na yan, mababa pa yan. Minsan, give me a moment. Meron ako ditong, sandali. Ayan, so label reading. So this is Perrier. So Perrier is 0. So label reading po, titignan lagi, yan, yung carbs. Yan, carbs. So 0. Energy drinks. Pag makikita nyo po yung carbs ng energy drinks, off the roof, napakataas po ng net carb ng mga energy drinks. Usually, minsan I've seen as high as 70. Imagine, 70 grams. Parang winasak niya na yung ceiling mo na 50 grams. Uminom ka lang ng isang maliit. And maliliit lang yan, yung energy drinks, maliliit lang. Sometimes para mga ganito lang siya. So much, po yan, sugar flooding of the system. Grabe yung inflammation na mangyayari. Plus, the insulin spike will be really so high sa ganyan po. Kala mo, nagkakaroon ka ng energy kasi energy drinks daw. Alam nyo, ang best way to increase your energy, take it from me, someone who's always working out. Kung di nyo pa nakikita yung mga workout post ko po, so someone who's working out, and even yung mga athletes po natin, yung ating mga guests, sila Doc Brian, si Coach Alan, sila po, they derive energy from fat burning. So kahit naman kayo ay nagpa-practice ng LCF lifestyle, as long as you have nutrient-dense meals at gagawin ninyo ng tama, you will have really good energy. And why is that? Because you're running on fat fuel. It's a cleaner form of fuel. You get mental clarity. Wala kayong tiredness sa katawan, right? Compared to a sugar burner na laging parang hinahapo. Sugar burners, anong hallmark niyan? Laging pagod, laging nagugutom, mabigat ang katawan, hirap gumalaw, masakit yung mga kasukasuan, feeling bloated, right? Sugar burner hallmarks po yan. Compared to someone who is a fat burner, grabe ang energy, magaan ang paggalaw, usually walang mga inflammation signs, kasi yun nga, deprived ka ng, you don't really use sugar for fuel, you use fat for fuel. Right? So very, very important po, mga hindi natin sure. And also here are of course, yung mga alcoholic. So cocktails with the sugary mixes, sweet wine. Sa Philippines, usong-uso yan. Sweet wine, po? So maraming sugar po yun. Pakibasa ulit ang label. This is the best way to go. is to read the label. Okay? Ako, I'm a fan of kasi I like these mga gas water. So, Perrier, San Pellegrino, ganyan. Kasi nakakaano siya inumin, nakakatuwa with the bubbles. Pero wala naman siyang anything. There's nothing added. So, if you have soda stream sa bahay, pwede rin kayo gumawa ng sarili po ninyo. Okay? So, yun ang ating mga food na ipinagbabawal. Merong nagtanong po pala the other day about palm oil. Sorry, hindi nakalagay dito. So, sa palm oil, so sino man po ang nagtanong nun, merong buhok. Palm oil, not all palm oils are created equal. So, kung yung red palm oil po yung bibilhin ninyo, that is the purer form. Kasi yun, may mga, beta-carotenes, kaya siya mamula-mula. Yun yung gusto natin. Yung clear na palm oil, yan ang nagdaan sa napakaraming proseso, and that's what we don't want, okay? So, in terms of palm oil, you can have it, you can use it, but use the red, yung hindi siya refined palm oil. Okay, so yun po yung sagot doon. Let me see if we have a few questions here. And again po, to avail of yung free natin na mga food guide, give it siguro 1 day kasi ina-upload namin siya. Then you can go to this website po, nandun yung free food guide. Tapos po yung ating magiging abs challenge. Libre din po yan. So, free abs challenge, tsaka food guide, nandyan po with all of the resources. Meron kaming ebook dyan. So, pakipuntahan na lang po yan. Marami ding free trainings dyan. Sa mga hindi lang interesado mag-level up ng kanilang health, pwede rin po yung level up wealth. Napakaraming free courses po, napakarami. So, kanina katatapos lang namin nung sa sales. Meron susunod, mga e-commerce, mga ganyan po. Punta po kayo doon at mag-register. Free po yung mga trainings. Okay, so let me see kung sino ang may mga questions dito tungkol sa food. Tingnan natin. Sabi ni Miss Jen, ano po lahat ang may mga carb doc? So, Miss Jen, nandyan yan sa ating food guide. Po ito, download. Join din sa communities natin. Pero kung gusto natin ng clear copy nitong food guide, so itong food guide na yan, matatagpuan yan sa mga communities. So doon sa low carb fasting, holistic wellness, nandyan yan. Pwede i-download. Pero kung gusto niyo talaga ng PDF, then punta kayo doon sa website ko at doon kayo maghihingi ng kopya nun. Pero give it, I think tomorrow we will be putting that out live. So antay po hanggang bukas. And then, sino pa po yung may tanong dito? Teka muna, tanggalin natin yan. So, nandyan kasi Miss Jen yung mga listahan ng mga pagkain na matataas ang carbs. Nandun ito yung diniscuss ko sa inyo ngayon. Lahat ito, nandun po ito lahat sa food guide, okay? Lahat yung mga yan ang may mga carbs. Nandyan po lahat yan sa food guide. Okay? Ayan. Okay, so let's see. Sino pa po ang may tanong about food? Okay, so Miss MJ, ang lahat ng mga high carb food, ito na po yun, yung pinakita ko kanina. Those are all the high carb food, mga pagkain na starchy or high carb, yung mga usual na kinakain natin, candies, breads, pastas, ganun po, potatoes, yun po yung mga high carb po. Ito yung flinash ko lang kanina. Kung gusto ng kompletong kopya, yan po yan. Mga high carb po natin. So anything na made from these, right? Like whole wheat. So ano nga ba yan? Di lahat po ng baked goods. Anything na made with, yung rice. Iba't ibang uri din ng rice. By the way, hindi porke brown yan, pasok na yan. Any form of rice, except shirataki rice. Kasi hindi naman talaga siya rice. It's a different ingredient. Hindi talaga yan rice. So shirataki rice is okay. Pero any other rice, hindi po siya pasok sa ating lifestyle. So, yan po yung mga high-carb food natin. Yan, sinabi ni Miss Riza. So, rice, sweets, root crops, soft drinks, juice. Exactly. Thank you for that. So, paano mabawasan ang bilbil? Yun po yun. High-carb. Para mabawasan ang bilbil, lahat ng pagkain na nandito sa pulang bahagi ng ating food guide na madadownload po ninyo doon sa ating community. So, lahat ng nakalista po dyan, Miss Ray Esam, dyan sa pula, lahat ng mga nakalista dyan sa pula, ang kailangan nating iwasan para mabawasan ang ating bilbil. Okay, join kayo sa community natin para makita nyo yung mga transformation photos ng ating mga community members na hindi lang nabawasan ang bilbil, kundi na naging super healthy looking pa. may mga abs na po sila dahil lang sa paglo-low carb at fasting. So, nandun po. Sino pa po ang may tanong? Paano po mag-join, Doc? Doon po sa ano, ma'am, sa low carb, fasting, ito. So, kung magjo-join tayo, sa sarili ko pong group, yun yung low carb fasting holistic wellness group. Hanapin lang po. Low carb fasting holistic wellness. Join po kayo dyan and then makikita nyo yung food guide at napakarami pang sources. Paki-save, paki-screenshot, paki-lagay sa inyong phone. And kung gusto ng magandang kopya ng food guide, libre yan, plus all the other resources, punta doon sa aking website at balikan po ninyo kasi yung ano niyan, punta po dyan, nandyan po yung ating mga resources. Libre po lahat yan, okay? And sino pa po? Water with lemon and salt, sabi ni Mr. Donald, pwede po ba? Opo sir, ngayon kung kayo po ay nagfa-fasting, yung lemon, hanggat hindi naman natin kasi yan, kakainin, yung lemon, yung parang ano lang, nandun lang siya to flavor it, okay lang po yun. Water and salt, pwede po yan. Pandan water, okay lang din naman po yun, basta walang asukal, okay lang din po. Almond milk unsweetened every day, yes, I do this myself. Pwede pong minom ng almond milk na unsweetened every day. Mababa po yung net carb niyan, almond milk. Couscous, hindi po. Couscous, well, ganito yung story sa couscous. Ano po? Kung kayo ay bagong-bago lang sa journey na ito, so all the beginners, short answer, try natin iwasan ang couscous. Kasi it still has high net carb. 1/4 cup ng couscous is around 33 grams net carb ang 1/4 cup. Sino ba naman ang kakain ng 1/4 cup ng couscous? Usually, you will eat either half cup of it or full. So that's times 4. So mataas pa rin ang net carb niya. Kung bagong-bago kayo, then yes, kailangan ninyong iwasan. Kung metabolically flexible na kayo, katulad ko, yung mga fat burner, then you can have a little bit of that, but avoid confusion, iwasan na lang po natin. Corn has high net carb po. Corn is very starchy, sabi ni Mr. June. Mais rice, pwede po ba siya? Hindi po sir, kasi si corn is also a very starchy carb. Mataas din po ang net carb ni corn. Pag magsisimula pa lang tayo sa journey na ito, mas maganda po na hindi talaga tayo kumakain ng ating mga high net carb substitutes. Yung low net carb substitute natin, na pasok sa lifestyle natin, yung shirataki po, or yung mga gulay, yung mga green leafy. Kung ano po, kailangan nyo ng substitute ng rice, either cauliflower, i-grate nyo po yung cauliflower, or yung green leafy po, green leafy vegetables po, sir. So, diniscuss natin yan, yung isang araw, green leafy, nasaan na ba yun? Wala na yata dito sa listahan ko. But anyway, green leafy vegetables, ang ating pinaka-substitute sa rice, either cauli rice, green leafy vegetables, or shirataki kung mahahanap po natin. Okay? Choices ng cooking oil, Miss Rosemary, kasi ginagamit ng asawa ko rice oil. So, yun na po, yung pinakita ko sa inyo kanina, yun ang choices natin ng cooking oil. So, sana ba siya? Pwedeng gamitin na cooking oil, itong mga ito. Ghee, butter, lard, chicken fat, duck fat, goose fat, tallow. And kung gusto ng solid oils, macadamia, avocado, olive oil, coconut, MCT, make sure na extra virgin para wala masyadong pinagdaan ng proseso. I'm looking for other. Is it okay to eat 6 eggs per day? Yes. 6 eggs. Ang 4 na itlog will give you 30 grams of proteins. So kung 6 eggs yan, 45 grams of proteins lang yan. Calculate your requirement. Requirement is 1.2 to 1.7 gram per kilogram per day. Para madaling tandaan, 1.5 na lang. 1.5. So kung kayo ay 60 kilos na tao, ang 1.5 gram per kilogram per day ay 90. Right? 90 grams of protein. So kung kakain ka ng 6 na egg per day, that'll give you 45 grams. So pasok pa rin siya kasi ang requirement mo is 90 grams. You need to eat protein po to feel full, and also proteins are essential. So kailangan po yan. Sino pa po ang may tanong? Puwede pala yung coffee na may gatas. So, ito depende kung iinumin niyo yung coffee tapos kayo po ay nasa fasting, mabe-break niya yung fast ninyo kung coffee may gatas kasi meron pa rin siyang, sugar on its own. Kahit hindi niyo lagyan ng asukal yung coffee, pero may gatas siya, yung gatas na yun may asukal na siya on its own. So ngayon kung nagfa-fasting kayo, 'di mabe-break niya yung fast niyo. Pero kung hindi naman kayo fasting at gusto niyo lang uminom, nasa ano kayo, eating window ninyo, tapos gusto niyo mag-coffee with the milk, why not? Lalo na kung, yung milk wala namang asukal yung milk ninyo, so that's okay. Yeah. Calamansi juice, if you are, drinking this in your non-fasting time, puwede po. Wag lang natin lalagyan ng asukal. So, or if gusto niyo ng konting tamis, yun nga, yung mga approved sweeteners na lang po natin. Ngayon, kung iinumin ninyo ito sa inyong fasting time, there's a small potential na mabe-break niya siyempre yung fast, but it's not gonna be so much. So, don't worry too much about it po. As long as you don't put extra sugar, that's okay. Sino pa po ang may tanong before I go? Everyday pandan water? Yes, that's okay po, basta walang sugar. So, good food po ma'am, kailangan po natin Miss Hailey Zayakin. So, food guide, sundan natin ang food guide, join po tayo sa group kasi napakarami doon na mga food postings na mai-inspire kayo kung ano nga ba talaga ang puwedeng kainin na makakapagpababa ng inyong timbang. So example, ayan, mga pagkain sa community natin, mga ganyan, makikita niyo po 'yan, mga transformation journey ng mga members natin. Makikita niyo lahat 'yan, and ano yung mga kinakain nila, makikita niyo po lahat 'yan doon. Kayang-kaya po magpababa ng timbang kahit po'y 45 na kayo, as long as you have stable medical condition, puwedeng-puwede po. So, kailangan lang natin ng tamang gabay, and ang gabay makukuha po natin sa mga communities natin. Napakaraming helpful na mga tao sa loob ng communities, and not only that, napakaraming, mga food inspiration, food ideas. And also transformation inspiration po. Okay, so last two questions. Dressing ng ghee. So yung ghee, saan ako bumibili sa ano, sa Costco. Anywhere naman nakakabili ng ghee. I mean, the usual grocery stores. I'm not so sure kung sa Philippines ha. Dito sa North America, Canada, US, madaling hanapin ang ghee. Pero sa Philippines, paki-check po sa mga communities, post po tayo, baka may makasagot sa community kung saan siya. Baka meron Lazada or Shopee or yung mga authorized po nating sellers na mga ano, low carb. Ano po, yung Little Retail PH, baka meron sila niyan. Paki-check po. But here in North America, it's everywhere. Dapat na inumin na kape, black coffee po ma'am. Plain lang po. Vertigo po has many causes, Miss Terry. So, iba't iba po ang causes ng vertigo. It can be metabolic. So, kung metabolic ang issue, which is lifestyle-related, gagaling po yan. Pero kung may iba pang cause, kaya nga ka-importante din, nagpapasuri talaga tayo sa doktor kasi baka may iba po kasi vertigo can be caused by other things other than metabolic. Meron pong mga brain issues sa mga tao may vertigo, minsan balance center problem, so depende po sa cause. Minola, so minola oil. Hindi ko alam kung anong laman ng minola oil, wala kaming minola here. Puwede po ba yung coconut oil naman? Yes, coconut oil, yeah, for sure, lalo na yung extra virgin. Tingnan ko, minola oil, sorry wala ako sa Philippines. So, minola oil, ano bang laman niya? Kasi kung usual ano siya, oh no, so it is a refined vegetable oil. It's not healthy po. Refined vegetable oils, we don't want. Ang pwede lang po yung pinakita natin kanina po, ano? Itong mga oils na ito that are natural, that are existing in nature by themselves na ganyan, na wala masyadong maraming proseso, yan ang pwede po. And also the solid, ito, chicken fat, duck fat, goose fat, lard, yan, tallow, beef fat po yan. Pwede po yan. Sino pa po ang may tanong? So biscuits, hindi po healthy yan. It's made from flour. flour and sometimes wheat, wheat and sometimes mga ibang grains. So, biscuits, sir, we don't recommend. Rather than eating that, eat protein po, sir. Kain po tayo. Kung gusto lang yan for snacks, why don't we just eat itlog? So, hard-boiled egg, 2, 3 piraso. Get some nuts, yung mga low-carb nuts. Maybe give yourself some cheese. So, yun po. Kesa kakain tayo ng biscuits, which is pure carbs. Pure carbs po yan. Plain water and salt while fasting, okay lang. Yeah, that is okay po. That's your electrolytes. Okay. Cottage cheese and green tea and coffee, yes. Kung kayo ay nasa eating time, yes. Cottage cheese, you can certainly have. Green tea, coffee, and sweetened salmon, lahat po yan pasok. Pag naka-fast, then hindi po. Kasi syempre, when you're fasting, anything that will stimulate insulin. So the cottage cheese will still have some carbs in that, right? Kahit mababa lang naman yung carb niya, pero may carb yun. So it'll stimulate yung iyong, and the same thing with the almond milk, it will still stimulate insulin. So kung naka-fast ka, tapos kakain ka niya na cottage cheese and iinom ka ng unsweetened almond milk, magkakaroon ka ng insulin stimulation and you will get out of the fast. So best na kainin yan doon sa time na eating time mo talaga, hindi sa fasting. Pag fasting, tea, plain coffee, water with Himalayan salt, mga ganun lang po ang pwede doon. Yun, hindi yun nakaka-break ng fast. Pwede po ang duck fat. Yes po. Okay. Siguro, yun na lang po muna for now. I will join you again next time. So, for mga free resources, paki-check out na lang po itong page. So, levelupwithdriris.com. And nandun po yung ating and join our communities po. Low carb fasting, holistic wellness. Pwede kayo magtanong po doon. I answer questions doon sa community. Tanong lang po kayo. Maraming sumasagot ng mga tanong doon. And personally, I also personally go there to answer questions. So, paki-join na lang po. Okay, we'll see you inside. Have a great night, everyone. Stay healthy and stay low carb. Bye for now.